The country has 2 days to prepare for a month-long lockdown, with nationwide restrictions due to officially begin on Wednesday. The Prime Minister announced the extraordinary move this afternoon. Effective immediately, the country is now at alert level 3, meaning from tomorrow all public places, with the exception of essential services, have to close. Our political reporter Jo Moir has this story.
The government has made a staggered announcement today to give both it and New Zealanders time to come to terms with and prepare for a full lockdown. From tomorrow, all bars, restaurants, cafes, gyms, cinemas, pools, museums, libraries and other public places where people gather have to close. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern broke the news from Parliament at 1:30 this afternoon.
That effective immediately, we will move to alert level 3 nationwide. After 48 hours, the time required to ensure essential services are in place, we will move to level 4.
The lockdown means isolation across the board.
To be absolutely clear, we are now asking all New Zealanders who are outside essential services to stay at home and to stop all interaction with others outside of those in your household.
The announcement comes after 2 cases of community transmission of Covid-19 were confirmed by the Director General of Health earlier today. Without these measures, Ms Ardern says the consequences would be devastating.
The worst case scenario is simply intolerable. It would represent the greatest loss of New Zealanders' lives in our history, and I will not take that chance.
Ms Ardern hopes doing the extraordinary will mean the lockdown only needs to be in place for 4 weeks.
If we, after those 4 weeks, have been successful, I hope then we will be able to ease these restrictions. If we haven't, we'll find ourselves living with them for longer. That is why sticking to the rules matters.
The Prime Minister stressed again today that supermarkets, pharmacies and essential medical services will stay open throughout and people can continue to shop normally. Businesses providing takeaway services will need to close and the school holidays are being brought forward to reduce the impact on students. Air and sea travel and public transport will continue for 48 hours with social distancing in place. Once lockdown is enforced, those services will only be for essential workers. On Tuesday, the Finance Minister Grant Robertson announced a $12.1 billion package for businesses and beneficiaries, but the change in circumstances means it's now being boosted. Wage subsidies will now be available for all, taking the $5.1 billion allocation up to $9.3 billion.
Cabinet today agreed to remove the $150,000 cap altogether. All businesses, self-employed, contractors and other organisations that I'll outline shortly will be eligible.
And he's also taken further steps.
The second decision that we have taken today is to freeze rent increases and to look to extend no-cause terminations to protect people during this difficult time.
Schools will be mostly closed from tomorrow, except for the children of essential workers like doctors, nurses, ambulance drivers and police. But that will only be temporary. Schools and early childhood centres will be closed completely from midnight Wednesday. Universities have been told to close as soon as they can. The Education Minister Chris Hipkins says the government needs everyone to cooperate.
Work is underway to prepare for online learning in all educational settings where that is appropriate and where that can be delivered consistent with the self-isolation requirements that have been set out.
Jacinda Ardern says for the next 4 weeks things will look worse before they look better. And she's acknowledging how daunting self-isolation will be for people.
Think about small things that you can do to maintain that contact without being face-to-face, because that will be one of the greatest hurdles we have to overcome, is looking after each other from behind closed doors.
Ms Ardern says mental health services will be a priority throughout this period. People can continue to get fresh air and go for a walk and talk to neighbours. The key is to do it from a distance. From Parliament for Checkpoint, Jo Moir.